Hello and welcome to my top 10 albums of 2013 list. Back in 2012, back when I first started really expanding my music collection, I didn't think there would be a year to top that year for quite some time. There were so many fantastic albums that came out that year, such as the new Cattle Decapitation, Murder Construct, both with Travis Ryan, the new Dying Fetus, there was the new Nile, there was the new Silosis, new Pig Destroyer, just some of the best albums in my opinion that came out in the death metal and grindcore scene. And that being said, it sort of gave me a bit of a feeling of apprehension at the beginning of this year. I wasn't too sure what to expect musically from this year, and to be honest, I didn't expect too much. But now that the year's over, I was so wrong. There has been some fantastic music that has been released this year, and I think there's a good selection in this small pile here that I'd like to share with you. I'll just give a brief description of each album, I think, and give you a few songs or a song off each album to check out for yourself, because some of these here are just absolutely phenomenal. Let's kick right into this at number 10 with the new Unbirth album. This is a technical death metal album from Italy, and this is their debut, I believe. It's called Decrescenated Celestial Oligarchy. It's just very straight up, very punchy, in-your-face tech death, which you need sometimes, and I just thought that for the whole duration of this album, it was just absolutely fantastic. And let's have a look here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Track number 6 on this album has one of my riffs of the year. It's one of those riffs that just makes you think I would absolutely have killed to have been able to write that. It's just fantastic. So I'd highly recommend you go check this out if you're into technical death metal. At number 9, new Dillinger Escape Plan album. This is a very interesting album. It's all over the place, it's messy, it has a lot of interesting kind of changes in terms of dynamics and time signatures and rhythms. It's brilliant, but at the same time has a lot of melody and catchy choruses and hooks. So this is definitely worthwhile checking out. And if you're new to this band, this is a very good place to start, so I'd highly recommend this. At number 8, the new Catalepsy album. I got introduced to this band just earlier this year, and this is slam death metal from Russia, and my god, this is heavy as hell. This is just... I don't think there's an album which has been released this year quite this heavy. Well, it's on par with some of the albums in this list, but this is insanely heavy. I'd highly recommend the songs Evidence of Near Death and Body Bags for the Gods. This is awesome stuff. I think slam death metal sometimes shoots itself in the foot in terms of the constraints of the actual genre, but this album is really good because it's technical while being extremely heavy at the same time, so it doesn't get overbearing in terms of the heaviness and sort of just boring kind of song structuring that you get sometimes in slam death metal, just in my opinion, but this album does it really, really well, so I'd highly recommend this. At number 7, the new album from Aid, another Italian band. This is an album I recorded an album review back in April, and this is just insane. It has a great kind of contrast of the death metal instrumentation that you would expect, and some more classical instrumentation, I suppose, that you would expect from the Roman Empire, I guess. And the combination really, really works well. And songs that I'd recommend you check out to hear that would be The Endless Runaway, and let's have a look here, Sanguine Pluitin Arena. So this is a fantastic album. I loved this when it first came out earlier this year, and I still listen to it. So definitely check this one out. At number 6, Nails, Abandon All Life. This is a fantastic grindcore / power violence album, and I love the fact that it's really, really grindy and just in your face, but it also contrasts really nicely with a couple of songs on here which seem to have a bit of a sludge element to them. And with the kind of production quality and I guess kind of approach to this style of music, the two genres and crossovers work really, really nicely. The last song is a particularly good example of that, so definitely check this album out. This is a rip ride from start to finish. It's awesome. At number 5, the new Dream Theater album, self-titled. I really, really enjoyed this. Back in 2011, whenever they released A Dramatic Turn of Events, I wasn't a huge fan of that album, I must admit. The departure of Mike Portnoy almost made it feel like it was missing like an element, of course, since he left. And that made me a little bit nervous whenever it came to like this album coming out, especially since it was self-titled. I didn't know if they'd be able to live up to the hype of it being their first self-titled album in their 25 plus year career, however long it's been. But this is extremely good, and I was really, really happy with this. The only thing I don't like is the snare drum sound on this album, pretty much. And another thing that I wasn't a huge fan on A Dramatic Turn of Events was it sort of plateaued throughout the whole duration of the album, in my opinion, and didn't have any particularly epic long songs, even though there was an 11-minute and a 12-minute song on there. But the closing song on this album, The Amazing Illumination Theory, which is 22 minutes long, I believe, is absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't say it's quite on a par with some of the other epics that they've released, such as The Count of Tuscany or Octavarium or 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence, who could forget that, or Lines in the Sand from Falling into Infinity. But it's still extremely good, and I think this is a real return to form for Dream Theater, and it's absolutely fantastic. Really varied and very well performed all the way through. So definitely go check this out. At number 4, this is a late release. This was released back in December, so it's very recent, but this had to go on because I absolutely loved it, and it's the new Modern Day Babylon album, and this is just awesome. The first full song on this album, Lost in Dreams, has one of my riffs of the year on it. It is just awesome. I love how this is a gent band, but they sort of mix it with a lot of interesting elements. It sort of reminds me of a mix of, say, Animals as Leaders, a bit of Chimp Spanner, but they're able to do it in such a way that they have their own unique voice at the same time, and I really like that, because a lot of bands that get pigeonholed in the whole gent kind of thing don't seem to have their own sound, but I think these guys do, and they do it really, really well. And the riffs are just absolutely awesome, really bouncy, really colourful, and just very, very interesting. So this is an album to definitely go listen to. Songs I'd recommend are definitely Lost in Dreams, Travellers, which is the title song, and also Infinity. This is just awesome, so definitely go listen to this. At number 3, new Gorgas album. This is an insanely good album, especially considering that this is the first album they've released in ages, probably, I think it's 8 or 10 years, something ridiculous like that. I love how this is a death metal album, but it's so atmospheric and so deep and just rich with texture all the way through, and that is a feeling you get right from the first song on here. So this is definitely worth your while. If you haven't listened to this yet this year, I'd definitely go listen to this. Bands that remind me of this kind of sound are definitely Ulcerate, something very atmospheric but technical and fast at the same time. So if you're into technical death metal, but you're looking for something a bit more atmospheric, this is the place to go. So songs I'd recommend off this album are definitely An Ocean of Wisdom, Forgotten Arrows, and the title song on here, Coloured Sands. This is definitely worth a purchase, so go get a copy. At number 2, this is another late release from 2013, December, and this is After the Burial, Wolves Within. This is just crazy. Whenever I listen to this, it just puts a massive smile on my face, because Rare Form, which was released ages ago, I think the original copy of that came out in 2006, and then the reissue came later. That is one of my favourite metal albums of all time, probably, and while this isn't Rare Form, this is a close second, definitely. This is just awesome. And what I like about this is it's extremely heavy, but they're able to counterbalance it with a lot of interesting melody, a lot of awesome solos, and a lot of like colourful playing just all the way through, so that the heaviness aspect doesn't sort of like drive the album forwards, if you will. It doesn't rely on the heaviness to like span out the 41 minutes that this album is. So this is definitely an album that you need to listen to if you're into like deathcore or gent or metalcore, because this is done very, very well. The breakdowns that are on here are extremely well done. I just love After the Burial for their breakdowns alone, because they actually do breakdowns that are interesting. They actually have some substance to them. They're not pointless, they're not stupid, they're not generic, they're really interesting. And they carry this forward on this album. And songs I'd recommend you listen to on here are Pennyweight, which is just exceptionally heavy. Nine Summers and Verger. This is an album that you need. And at number 1, the new Defeated Sensi album. I absolutely love this to bits. This is heavy. This is very, very heavy. It's very technical, and it's very well performed. It sort of sounds like an angry swarm of bees on methamphetamine. It's that pissed off. It's absolutely fantastic. And if you get a physical copy of this, you can get the DVD on here, which is very good as well. And this is definitely worth getting a CD copy of, just purely for the collector's point of view. But this musically is fantastic. It is awesomely heavy, almost reminds me of Slam a little bit, although it's very technical, so I wouldn't call it that entirely. But it also has some extremely colourful drum work, especially on the drums. The drums on this album are phenomenal. They're not just your standard bread and butter blast beats and hammer blasts that you would get on any other technical death metal album. This has some great playing on it, especially the last song, where it almost seems to go into like a jazz break sort of style improvisation on the drums just before the end of the song. This is just awesome. It has so many tricks up its sleeve, you would not believe it. If you told someone that this was fantastic, they might not believe you to begin with, because if you think of technical death metal, you think of a certain roster of bands, but this kind of breaks the mold a bit. I think it's absolutely insane. So definitely go buy this as well. This is awesome. So this whole top 10 list is worth your purchase, in my opinion. It's been some of the best music that I've picked up this year, alongside loads of past catalogue albums. So I'd just like to end by saying a Happy New Year to all of you, and I guess just a wish and a hope that 2014 is also going to bring a lot of awesome music to us, which I'm sure it will. So I'll see you guys next video.